Hi, good evening, and welcome to Dermot's Democracy Rants. Of course, with me, Dermot, in the chair, as the camcorder, as the speaker, bringing order to this debate. And of course, Mr. Brady next to me, probably a little bit like, I don't know, Bertie Ahern or Charlie Hottie, ready to give the two fingers to my authority in the chair. So,
order.
yeah. As he waves his phone around. Now there was three people waiting. Suddenly they haven't come in. They probably ran off.
Probably saw the two of us on, so I'm not watching that.
Yeah, but Philip, it's been a hell of a weekend. They say it's a long time in politics, but I think this has been one of the worst weeks in Irish politics I can remember for a hell of a long time. We've got the Dáil in uproar. We've got the opposition embarrassing themselves. We've got the government tied up in knots. We've got Paul Brown of the Social Democrats waving his phone around like he was on a day trip to the Guinness factory. You've got Michael Lowry sticking his two fingers up in the Dáil.
Controversial way.
Have you ever seen anything like it in your life? I can't remember in my time of growing up seeing that. Philip, have you ever seen anything like it?
So there was similar scenes back in the Charlie Haughey era.
Yeah.
But I don't think there was an element of there was always an element of respect behind the roaring and shouting. I think what's happened now is the element of the word respect is sadly missing from most of our politicians' vocabulary at the minute. And I had to go and check this out earlier, Dermot. We held a general election here on the 29th of November last year, right?
Yeah.
That is 4 months tomorrow.
Yeah.
And all they've done since then is argue over 8 minutes of speaking time.
Yeah.
That has taken up so much time that the rest of the country can go to hell in a handcart as long as we get our 8 minutes of speaking time. And I think I'm going to be totally critical of every party here. That nobody is going to escape criticism. They want to get their act together, realize that their oath was taken to the Constitution of Ireland, not to their political party, and not to scoring points over what the speaker may or may not have done right. It's totally ridiculous.
It is ridiculous. I mean, we vote the. Oh, sorry, that's a different completely show. Sorry.
How many points do you get for shouting at the camcorder?
But no, seriously though, we vote these people in to do a job for us, to be our representatives. It's the same as the UK. It's the same as anywhere around the world. They vote. You take England for example. They vote. They have the vote that night. The next morning, the new prime minister's in. He's appointing his cabinet, and then they get on with the day. They get on with running the country.
Yeah.
Now over here we have a different political system over here. How we vote people in, and it takes longer. There's always going to be a hung parliament, and it's going to take longer to get parties sorted out. But Philip, we have been. Yeah, you are right. How many months is it now? How many days?
4 months. With the whole of December, the whole of January, the whole of February, and pretty soon the whole of March.
Yeah.
Ridiculous. Of course, they're off on holidays for a few weeks in the middle of all that as well.
Yeah.
You know.
Now, to be fair, the opposition have complained that they're not sitting in the Dáil enough. Now, they have brought that up, that there was around that, these new ministers need time to get to know their ministries.
True.
Well, there's some of them in there that have already been in the same ministry, so they don't need time, like the Minister of Finance.
Yeah.
A few of them have moved around. The minister for Justice has gone, I think, to the Minister for Health. She's now the Minister of Health. The Minister for Social Welfare and Protection has now gone to the Minister of Education. The Minister for Housing. Am I right? No, the Minister for Farming has now become the new Minister for Social Welfare and Protection. Do they need that much time to get used to a new ministry, Philip, to be fair? Well, I don't think they do.
No, the fact is, I know they mightn't have been in the door, but that doesn't mean they could have been in their offices learning the job. You know, I don't know what they were doing. Of course, they all had the junkets around the world for Paddy's Day, which is much sought after. A week here and a week there, and that didn't help. But no, they should have had ample time when the Dáil's not sitting to be in their offices, meeting their new staff, getting to know who's what, and learning the job, and then hit the ground running. But I'm going to take farming as an example. I saw a very interesting item on the news tonight. It was horrifying, really. I'd heard about this before, but there's a thing called the Acres Scheme, which is brought in to help farmers biodiversify and be more green and global warming type stuff. There's farmers that have not been paid for 2023 yet for that scheme. Not 2024, 2023. And they were told it was down to computer problems and technical issues with the payments being made, and that it'll be all sorted out by June. Now, if you're a farmer who's living on squiddly dip, because a lot of farmers are on their uppers, you have to wait at least another 3 months to get money that should have been paid to you 18 months ago. Now, I would suggest the Minister for Agriculture gets his finger out and sorts that one out, because that is a very serious problem. And I'm living in a farming area, and I hear all about that type of thing.
Yeah, and also, Philip, we've got a housing crisis, which is the worst we've ever seen.
Shocking.
We've got figures out today. I think, what was it, 15,000 just in Dublin area alone.
Yeah,
either in emergency accommodation, in shelters as well. That's not including the children that are sleeping on the streets in our capitals tonight. And there is children sleeping on the streets. In 2025, we should not have children sleeping on the streets. We've got a load of properties around the country just derelict, doing nothing. Why can't we not use them?
Our village has got about 40 houses in it, right? Maybe not even that many. There's 4 or 5 of them lying idle.
Yeah.
That speaks volumes. Multiply that out by every town and village in the country, and you'd have enough houses to house the homeless. Every one of them.
Now, no government's perfect. You look in England this week, Philip, which I'm going to touch on a bit as well. They had their, what would you call it? It's not a budget, but they have like a
spring statement.
Yeah, spring statement. And the one thing I took from that, Philip, was the amount of welfare cuts over in that country to people on disabilities, the people that cannot work, that depend on people coming in to help them, people coming in to survive, and all that's been cut.
Yeah.
Now, we're very lucky in this country to have a very good social welfare system, to be fair. We're probably one of the best in Europe. We're well looked after. The pensioners are well looked after. We get our medical cards over here. If you're on, I think over 70, you get a medical card, and if you're on social welfare, you get a medical card. So, say for example, Philip, you go to the pharmacy to get your medication. It costs you €1.50 per item, where without the medical card, it would cost you, I don't know, 20, 30 euro. For example.
Yeah.
We had a couple of years ago when the IMF came in, where they cut the medical cards for the 70s. Well, that didn't go down too well, because the next morning, every 70, 60, 70, 80-year-old was outside the door protesting.
That's right. I remember that.
Yeah. Were you there protesting at the time?
No, I wasn't. No? It didn't apply to me at that stage.
Are you sure you were not there leading the protest?
Move on now before.
No, but the point I'm making, Philip, we're well looked after in this country. Right?
Yeah.
How bad do you think the UK's got? Labour is supposed to be the party for the people. Like Labour in this country is supposed to be the party of the people. I want to get back to this country's politics in a minute, because I think a few of the parties seem to forget. They keep pointing the fingers at Sinn Féin, but I've got a point to make in that. Labour came in on a very big majority in the UK to help the people in the UK, to sort out the migrant problem, to sort out the NHS, to sort out this, sort out that. And then they found out there was a 20 billion black hole. How difficult is it for a new government to come in, Philip, to keep their promises?
Yeah,
And how badly did the Conservatives run the country? I mean, they totally bankrupt the country. But it isn't fair for the people on disability who depend on the services, to not sugarcoating it, that need to stay alive on these services.
the Conservative rule for how many years, 13, 14 years, whatever they were in for, was a total disaster. I mean, when you guys like Jacob Rees-Mogg running the country, you know, unless you're part of the upper class hunting, shooting, and fishing set, and the 4 Rolls Royces sitting in your front yard, then he doesn't care. Labour came in on the back of that, and with an impossible situation, really. I don't think they realised how bad things were. As you said, they've discovered a black hole now. And I mean, I think that the Chancellor of the Exchequer in England, who was there during the past Conservative reign, or whatever you want to call it, I think has a lot of questions to ask. And Labour are now doing their best, but there is absolutely, if there was an election tomorrow, they wouldn't get back in, because people are so annoyed. But in a way, they shouldn't be that annoyed at Labour. Labour are trying to repair something that was badly, badly broken. And that doesn't happen overnight, unfortunately. But it is unfortunate they've chosen to cut the benefits of people, the most needy people. It's a bit like what Elon Musk is trying to do in America. He's doing away with Social Security for people that need it. And as the finance, well, the equivalent of the finance minister over there said, sure, if my granny didn't get her paycheck or her Social Security check 1 month, so what? She'd be all right. It's okay for him. He's a multimillionaire.
Yeah.
You know, most people in this country and in England are living hand to mouth, day to day, waiting for the benefit to come. And if it didn't come, they have not got money to buy food. Simple as that.
And they're living on 70 quid a week, Philip. 70 quid. I think it's 70 quid every 2 weeks.
Oh, God. I don't know the figures, but it's certainly nowhere near what a similar person in Ireland would be on.
No, I mean, she asked that the minister, whoever's the Minister of Social Protection over in England, I don't know what they call it over there, and she asked him out, could you live on 70 quid a week? He went, no. Why? Because I have a mortgage to pay.
Yeah.
I mean, beside the response, there's people desperate that need that money, Philip, to pay for carers. If you're disabled and bedbound and you're dependent on these carers coming in, and the government are coming and say, what, we're going to slash this, slash that. It's you can't do it. So what should they do? What should you reduce then? You should tax the rich, but why won't they tax the rich? It's the same with this country. Why won't they tax the rich?
The same as in America. They want to cut Social Security so they can give the rich who don't need the money another tax cut. I don't like. I think they've got to pick some other element of society that needs to be cut. Whether it's armed forces, they're increasing the spending there to cover the Ukraine situation. There's got to be some area that they can cut money from and divert it to social welfare, because what will happen in England, and if people haven't got the money to have a decent standard of living, they're going to start to take to the streets, and there's going to be civil unrest. And you can be sure the left wing or the right wingers will be stirring it up and trying to, the Nigel Farages of this world will be making hay over things like this. Not that he would have the answers, but he is a disruptor, and he will be threatening on them.
You wouldn't blame them either, would you, to be fair?
Well, not really. I mean, not really. I mean, far be it for me to encourage street protests or violence and anything like that, but it's the right wings of this world that thrive on things like this, and they pick up memberships and they pick up sympathies from people who are affected by the cuts in social welfare, by what they rule as the ruling classes. And the chances are Nigel Farage will do very well in the next election, even though his own constituents in Clacton nearly have an all points bulletin out looking for him, find out where he is, because he's never there, you know. So
I mean, you look at Germany, you look at around the world, that side, the far right, is now getting into governments now. They're starting to do well in elections.
And that's because of
thankfully not here.
Well, not yet. That's because of all the dissatisfaction with what they class centre-left politics. I mean, look at in Hungary now, Orban is getting huge demonstrations against him. He might not last too much longer. Same thing is happening in Serbia, I think. You know, it's happening in America now. Not that the mainstream media is covering it because they're too scared of offending Donald Trump, and it's spreading. It's spreading. Germany is going to be an interesting case because they just had an election and the right wingers did better than expected, maybe in that, you know. But I mean, right wing politics to me smacks of 1933 Germany. And does anybody want to go back there?
I get it. I get what you're saying. I think I get what you're saying. I know what you're saying. I know what you're saying. But you look at Canada; they've got an election coming up now, which is going to be nasty. You look at Greenland. What's happening there as well, Philip? With all that. Yeah, you look at Trump saying he wants to make Canada the 51st state of America. You look at Greenland's being fought over for military purposes only. It's not being there for the good of the health of the people. It's been in I love the response from the Danish EU representative where he said, let me speak to you, Mr. Trump, with language you can understand when it comes to taking over Greenland. F off.
F off. And I saw tonight when JD Vance landed at in Greenland, it was minus 30 degrees. It was so cold his eyeliner froze. But anyway, he was not greeted by anybody from the government. He was greeted by a couple of American soldiers, GIs, whatever you want to call them, you know. And then he went off for a very frosty dinner with members of the American forces in a canteen somewhere. So he's going to be frozen out there, figuratively and metaphorically, because the Greenland boys are ignoring him completely when he's there. And quite right. And as for Canada, Trump had a call today with the new Prime Minister of Canada. He's not calling him the governor anymore. He's actually calling him the Prime Minister. But Trump has realized, I saw the figures there today, that airline bookings from Canada to America for the coming year are an average of 70% less than they were last year. Canadians are voting with their feet and not going to America. And that will hurt the American tourist industry. And maybe Trump has finally realized that. Maybe Mar-a-Lago's not booked up like it used to be.
No. What do you think of Donald Trump this week? He's had a quiet week by Trump standards.
He's had a terrible week, Dermot.
I know.
But two things this week. He was told about the signal debacle and said, I know nothing about it. And then, I think it was even worse. So this was actually sickening. There was 4 American soldiers killed in Lithuania over the last few days. And when Trump was asked about it, he didn't know a thing about it. Did not know a thing. And worse than that, didn't seem to care.
No.
There was no.
Well, you know more about this.
You know?
Yeah, you know more about this American thing than I do. I still can't get my head around it. So for people that are watching, big up to the 5 people watching us on X. Where's the rest of the YouTubers? Where are you? Come on in. We don't bite. Promise. Do you want to explain to people what this is about? Because it's very serious. I don't know how much trouble Donald Trump's in with this, or how much trouble he could get into this. But if you could explain it for somebody like me.
Yeah, okay.
Philip, in simple terms for me.
First of all, Donald Trump never gets into trouble with anything. He never, ever takes responsibility for anything. So that's not going to change. What this was there's a messaging system called Signal. And apparently a lot of these guys, Pete Hesketh, the defense secretary, and J.D. Vance and a few of the rest of them, the head of the CIA and the head of counterintelligence, all started up a little group chat. Like we'd start up a group chat about a football match. They started up a group chat about the bombing Houthi rebels in Yemen. Yeah. Right? Now, which, first of all, is against the Presidential Records Act. It's because it's not an authorized form of communication. It's not secure enough. It can be hacked. It also uses messages that delete after so length of time, automatically delete.
Yeah.
That is against the Presidential Records Act. In fact, a judge has ordered them to retain all the records for the Presidential Records Act. Anyway, nobody's taking responsibility. When Fox News came on about it, they sort of said, well, what about Hillary Clinton's emails? Remember back that time, Hillary Clinton was supposed to use the email server. There was a Republican-led Congress found her not guilty for that. but they still drag it up. They think it's just because Hillary Clinton did something that they can do it. It's a scandal that will not go away. If it had been a normal rank and file member of, say, the civil service or whatever they have over in America, he would have been sacked immediately and probably jailed. But nobody has had repercussions for it yet. The Democrats are pushing hard for it, but unfortunately, the Democrats are in disarray at the moment. They have no chosen leader to go at things, and they're a bit of a mess. So until somebody grasps the metal and somebody in the Republican leadership accepts responsibility, that one's going to pass. So that was that. Yeah. It's an ongoing situation. Fox News are doing their best to defend it. They're making out it's nothing, but there could have been American airmen killed because of those messages. Because they reckon Russia are hacking them anyway. So what Pete Hegseth did, he put down a timeline for an attack, and he put 12:45, say, first attack, right? 1:30, second attack. Now, if that message had been intercepted, the boys would have been waiting with the rockets for the second attack, and they shut them down. And that's the serious thing about it. But nobody seems to be. They're not taking it seriously. They're trying to say, nothing happened. It's grand.
I know it's totally different things, Philip, but you remember Watergate back in the day with Nixon, right? Yeah. I know it's totally different, but I'm just going to use it try to use it as a point. Back then, it was brushed under the carpet until it was brought out in the national newspaper. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? And then they came out with all the recordings. Nixon recorded every conversation he had in the Oval Office. And at the end, he had to resign. He had to resign as president of the United States, and that was the end of it.
Yeah.
If this gets any worse, could this turn into a type Watergate type thing for Donald Trump, where he has no alternative but to resign?
No, because as I said earlier, Donald Trump will always blame somebody else. By him saying he knew nothing about it, that's himself in his own mind absolving him from any blame to do with either the signal thing, the guys getting killed in Lithuania. What I don't think he realizes was he's the president. The buck stops with him. Ultimately, it stops with him. And if things get much worse, the pressure is going to come on him. But the problem is the Republicans control both houses of the Congress at the moment, and they are so shit scared of offending Donald Trump that no one is going to break ranks and say, Donald, you've got to act. You've got to answer for the problems here. They won't until someone does that, or maybe 4 or 5 of them do that. Then Donald Trump will sail on with impunity, do whatever he likes. The tariffs, he'll do whatever he likes there. And until somebody calls him to task and stands up to him, we're stuck with him, I'm afraid.
Then who can stand up to him then? We're going to get on about the tariffs because that does affect us here in Ireland, these tariffs, and it affects Europe and the UK as well. But just going along what you talked about, Philip, look, everyone's shit scared of him, right? So surely if the vice president has his eye for the top job, surely he'd be behind the scenes doing something. Hang on, get behind me. Let's get rid of this guy. Get behind me. Do you think there could be that like dull skullduggery, if you know what I mean, in the background?
Not with J.D. Vance. No, J.D. Vance. Donald Trump could have an affair with Jack Vance's wife, and Vance wouldn't say a word. That's how connected at the hip he is to Donald Trump. No, what it's going to take, you see, the Republic, you've got Elon Musk there, right? Who's threatening anybody, and he said this out loud. Anybody who opposes Donald Trump or calls Donald Trump out anything, he will pay for an opponent to go up against him at the next election and get him out of office. And the problem now is 95, maybe 99% of the Republican Party privately don't like what Donald Trump is doing. Okay, there's a small percentage that will, but they are putting their political ambitions ahead of their oath to the Constitution of America. They're putting party before country. And as long as they're doing that, as enough of them are doing that, Trump will remain where he is. As I said earlier, it's going to take a few of them to brave people. Now, there is a few of them. There's a couple of them have made searching comments as why was this done and why was that done, and querying Donald Trump's actions. But there's not enough of them. Now, the only hope is there's two elections to the House of Representatives coming up in Florida this week. And Florida is a strongly Republican state. But because of all that's been going on with the job cuts and every sort of cut that Musk is organising, there's a strong possibility the Democrats could flip those 2 seats. That's why yesterday, Donald Trump withdrew this Ellen Stefanik girl, who had nominated to go as the United Nations ambassador. She's in the House of Representatives. He's withdrawn her nomination because his margins are so thin now that if she went and they lost the 2 elections, then give or take a couple of events, the Democrats could take back control of the House. And once they do that, Donald Trump is a lame duck.
Do you really think that could be the pressure point?
If the Republicans lose the House, that is the beginning of the end for Donald Trump, because anything the Senate passed, the House will not let him get away with anything. As it happens now, they can do what they like. They've got the majority in both houses. But when you've got a split Congress, and with the midterms coming up in November next year, I know it's 18 months away. The sitting president does very badly usually in the midterms. And if that continues next time, then Donald Trump and the Republicans will lose control of both houses. Then he is really in trouble, because you can guarantee your life then the Democrats will go to try and impeach him again.
Big up to Tequila. He says big up Dermot, big up Philip, big up Tequila.
Now, Tequila.
Look, yeah, I hope you are, man. Listen, look, why Tequila's up? We'll go to UK politics, Philip, because we will go back to the US. We'll go to UK politics. Keir Starmer, not very popular in the moment, as we talked about earlier, what he's done with the disability. What, they've got a by-election coming up there in a little while in the UK. How important I think it's important that Keir Starmer gets a good result at that by-election. But what I've been watching out for is how well Reform are going to do in that by-election. How will they overtake the Conservatives? Will they overtake Labour in that by-election? That's going to be interesting.
Yeah, I've got a feeling Reform might possibly win that by-election, and by itself, the majority that Labour have in that respect, it doesn't matter a toss. But what it does show is what the swing away from Labour has been since the last general election, and what the general mood of the country can be pinpointed into that one by-election. I'm not sure which part of the country it's in. If it's in the north of England and Labour lose badly, it'd be a huge, massive shock. Down south, a bit less so, because down south, Labour wouldn't be the stronger of the parties usually. So very, very interesting. So it might just be an indication. And I think we're going to see Nigel Farage's mug on TV quite a bit over the next while over that.
Look, do you feel that? I was speaking to somebody the other day, and he said to me, Labour's just like the Conservatives, just with a different badge. Has Labour gone away from its core values of what a Labour Party should be? Yeah,
it's hard. Like, not living in England, it's hard to know really what's going on the ground over there. You can only read what we take here. And to be honest, I think we have enough problems with our own politics to be worrying about anybody else.
I know, but I speak a lot like Tequila. I speak to Coover and Tequila, and they're telling me it's just.
You're probably right. You're probably right. Yeah, they've lost. They're not the identity of Harold Wilson type Labour parties.
Or Tony Blair type Labour Party.
Blair, they're not. They're more. They've moved more to the centre. Like, if your class conservatism have been right and Labour been left, they're kind of meeting in the middle a bit now.
Yeah, and also the NHS over there. We are going to get on about our own health system here, but the NHS, Philip, is. I mean, I know I get told when I speak to Tequila or Coover, they have to wait so long for appointments, or they leave them on their own, like people on their own. There's people over there waiting months and months and months and months for appointments or care or anything. Keir Starmer came out the other week and abolished NHS England to set up another system, I suppose, to take over from that. Where do you think England, UK was better being in EU than being out of it? Do you think coming out of the EU has totally harmed that country? Where if they were within the EU, they could have got a bit of more help. Do you think coming out was? I mean, we never did talk about Brexit, you and me, and was it a good thing or a bad thing? I always say it was a bad thing for the UK to come out of Brexit, to come out of the EU anyway.
Yeah.
But they made so many so much up, saving 300 million for the NHS, saving this, saving that.
That was a week per week.
Yeah, per week, wasn't it? I mean,
Yeah.
how much? I mean, that was disinformation within itself, but how much did that change people's minds
Yeah,
of coming out of Brexit?
with apologies to anybody watching that might be a Brexiteer.
Yeah,
Brexit in the UK was the greatest con job in modern history.
yeah.
They were absolutely
Mm.
sold a pup and bought it, hook, line, and sinker.
Yeah.
And I'd say if there was a referendum tomorrow, I would say the majority of the UK would probably go back in. Now, again, I think it was the northern vote took England out, or the UK out of Brexit mainly. It was the southern vote. The south voted to stay, the north voted to go. I'd say if that was changed now, there'd be an awful lot more people up north who've been affected badly by Brexit and would vote to go back in again. Because they're missing out on all the grants, they're missing out on all the subsidies. And it's very hard for a country to go from being mollycoddled into getting money for nothing from Brussels into fending for yourself. And that's what they're having to do at the moment.
Yeah, and also Northern Ireland voted to remain in the EU. That's a whole different ballgame.
And this thing about the border down the middle of the Irish Sea. I mean, I've noticed we don't live too far from the border here. I'm less than about 45 minutes from the border. And I go into Enniskillen occasionally. And before Brexit, you go into Enniskillen into a shop called Asda, the supermarket Asda, and the shelves are teeming with stuff. Now you go in, there's gaps on the shelves for things they're not able to get in from the UK because of Brexit.
Yeah.
It affects everybody in the street. I have a certain product that I used to love getting in the Asda. I can't get it anymore. It's not there.
Tesco's in Gorey used to bring in not Greg's, but used to bring in pasties from England.
Yeah.
Do you know the ones I mean? The really nice ones. We can't get them in. They don't bring them in now.
That's it. Yeah, that's it.
That's the point. When we're over in England visiting Dover's cousin, I'm going to bring back some pasties. There you go.
Bring an extra suitcase with you.
Yeah, bring back a suitcase full of pasties. Big up to Tequila. Big up. He's actually put in a few comments here. Yeah. Do you want to read them out, Philip, and then give your response to them? Like
NHS is terrible waiting times for surgery, terrible waiting times for GP appointments. Social care is terrible. CMHT, I'm not quite sure what that is. You can explain what that is. That's terrible. Yeah, I mean, it looks like you've got the same issues over there that we have here. You know, like I don't know if you saw that today, Dermot. There's a girl awarded €2 million in the High Court for something the hospital didn't do for her when she was in having a brain surgery. You know, so it's
I tell you a stuff. Look, and I got something that happened to Durban in Wexford. It is called the Community Mental Health Teams. Yeah, well, that's something I do want to talk about in a minute as well. Get into that. He goes, even talking to some nurses, which I've had a lot of convos with nowadays. They all say the same thing: too much red tape to get anything done, a waste of resources.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I've got first-hand experience. What my wife has, I did have, working in the HSE. The amount of waste of stuff that's thrown out that's perfectly good. But her biggest bugbear was this: the guys walking around with the clipboards under their arm.
Yeah.
Managers doing absolutely shag all, and yet they're crying out for help up in the wards.
It is shocking. Look, Keela did put it in there. I think it's worth talking about.
Community mental health teams. Yeah.
Mental health in England and Ireland, Philip, is a very taboo subject over here. It really is a taboo subject over here. It's swept under the carpet quite a lot. Maybe not in the big cities, but in the villages and the rural part of Ireland, it's swept under the carpet. You look at England as well. The mental health system isn't great over there. Why won't governments take this more seriously? Why won't they put the right money within the right resources to help the people that need the help? Because they're putting money into other stupid projects like, let's put millions and millions in, like over here the children's hospital, or we can order a takeaway.
Yeah.
That's a good idea. Sorry, so it's just sorry, Mrs. John's phone went on. Let's take away. Sorry. And
Keir Starmer ringing you.
yeah, Keir Starmer telling me, "Do you want to take away tequila and me?" They put millions and millions of pounds into a railway system that was never going to be built.
Yeah.
But there should be money put into the mental health system. It's not a laughing matter, I know.
No.
Why are governments getting it so wrong, Philip? Why are they? Why is the UK and Irish governments getting it so wrong?
I honestly don't know, Dermot. It's the fact that they're not being lobbied enough. As you say, the money's been spent in the wrong places. Like Ireland has got one of the best at the moment. Is one of the best economies in Europe. Now, after next Monday or Tuesday, they mightn't have, but
I'm dreading that next Tuesday.
Yeah, I think everybody is. As for Donald Trump's announcing the tariffs, we're talking about
Yeah, we are. We'll get on to that in a minute.
But I think there is each budget that comes out right before a budget is issued. Right, lobby groups go into the government and for their various interests, and maybe there's not enough strength in the lobbying that goes on to get this money because it's allocated somewhere. Some people are getting it. Maybe it's because they present a better case. But mental health is the silent killer. You know, your next door neighbor could have mental health. You wouldn't have a clue what was wrong with them. You could have a broken leg. You know well what was wrong with them, but it's not visible what's wrong with a lot of people. And I mean, again, I'm living in a farming area here with a lot of farmers living on their own. And I can see them on a Saturday night coming into the pub. And that's not necessarily to have a drink. That is just to talk to someone, to get their problems off their chest. Yeah. And that's why, and also it was another thing that's badly affected people's mental health in country areas like this is the fact that you can't go out and have a pint now and then drive home. Now, I'm not advocating drink driving, but the guards will be sitting out waiting for guys going home who might be slightly over the limit, who've been drinking in the pub. And that's such an awful lot of country pubs have closed down. But the country pub is more like a therapy session. Whoops, I'm on my own now. So again, I'm sure Tequila, you could probably agree. Like in England as well, there's not enough money allocated to anything near enough allocated to the mental health situation. And I'll just read the next comment here that you've put in. It's actually I can't bring it up here. Can I? No, I can't. I'll read it out. It's Labour have betrayed the people that voted for them. Is how the general feeling is over here. Well, I can gather that. That seems to be the way. But I suppose whenever they came into office after so many years of the Conservatives, people had high hopes for them. And unfortunately, the honeymoon's over now. The honeymoon's over, and you could say divorce proceedings have started already because there's going to be a kickback. And unfortunately, it's the likes of Nigel Farage is going to benefit on that. And we'll have to hope that he doesn't be too successful. And that's just go on to, I know Dermot will probably carry on with this. We mentioned there what's going to happen next week. Oh, you're back. Can't hear you. You're mute, Dermot.
I was just getting information from the editor-in-chief.
All right, okay.
From the boss.
I just read that one out there that the Labour betrayed the people.
I think they are. I think they are. They came in on a load of promises that they haven't kept. And I remember five.
You understand that a bit, Dermot? Like all parties make promises when they come in, right? Without having a chance to have seen the books.
Yeah.
So maybe they're not just able to make all the changes that they want. Like political promises are a bit of a joke to me because very rarely are they all carried out.
Yeah. He says no. I was talking to Derval trying to get something from Derval over here. He says no, and they waste so much, Philip. And with the new benefit cuts mainly aimed at those with mental health issues, it's going to be very bad times in the UK for those struggling with mental health issues.
Yeah, I know.
But it's shocking, isn't it? It is shocking that the most vulnerable in our society are the easy ones to attack.
Yeah.
Where the rich,
it's always been that way. It's been down the decades. It's always been the same. It's just a lot more evident now because back in the 50s and 60s, right, there wasn't the social media presence that people get their feelings out and about. Nowadays, everybody can go online and say how they're feeling, and people are more aware of it. Back in 30, 40 years ago, that was not the case. You suffered in silence.
And you shouldn't have to, Philip.
No,
You
absolutely not.
shouldn't have to.
Absolutely not.
Look, I know in Wexford alone, I know we're going to Ireland, so I apologize, Tequila, but look, I will get back to it's around the same thing. We didn't have a psychiatrist for CAMHS in Wexford at all for years. We've got one now, but it's not enough. And also about the health system over here, Derval went in. You know, Derval had a heart attack there nearly 8 years ago. And you've covered for me plenty on the other channel when I've had to go rush Derval to hospital over our heart. And she had an angiogram one Thursday, brought her back in, and the doctor examined her, and they pressed where they put, when you have an angiogram, it goes either through your wrist or through your groin. And she collapsed in the toilet, completely passed out, blood pressure crashed, everything. And she wasn't even in the right ward. She wasn't even CCU, where that is monitored all the time. Now, that's talking about my favorite hospital of all time. You know the one I'm talking about, Philip. The one that should be knocked down and rebuilt again.
Of the year.
But it's things like that woman passing out in the toilet after a brain operation.
Yeah.
She got 2 million today from the High Court. What happened to Derval? I mean, the night Derval died, Philip, I'll explain to you very quickly what happened. I know you know what happened. Derval went into hospital that night. We're having a lovely time. She said, I don't feel well. She went to bed. Next thing, she sent me a text, throwing up, basically. I took one look at it, said, right, I think there's something seriously wrong here. Rung an ambulance, had to fight the ambulance to take her to the hospital. Now, we went to Wexford Hospital, and there was a girl in front of us who was mentally ill, bless her, who should not have been there. She should have been somewhere else being really looked after. Derval was left for 8 hours in a room, dying. I had to go out and kick a bin. To this day, from this day to this, Philip, I'll never make the same kick again. I kicked it, and it went straight down the middle. Now, I would never do it again if you tried. Shouted and roared. A doctor came, took one look at Derval, and said, right, bring her into resus. Now, luckily, they got her up to James's, who I have to say thank you to James's, who found that she had a, on her way to her heart. A clot on her way to her heart.
Okay, yeah.
And put a stent in.
Mm-hmm.
That's how bad that hospital is.
Yeah.
That's how bad our health system, that people are left. I've went to hospital. I've seen people die in A&E because the nurses either are too overworked or they can't be asked to do their job properly.
I'll tell you, I'll take issue with that last comment. Like, my wife worked in the health service.
I'm not saying that, Philip, but what I'm saying is that I'm taking, for example, Wexford.
Yeah, okay. Well, generally, that most 98% of the staff working, nurses, are absolutely to the pin of their collar. They can't do anymore. They're under so much pressure. They're short-staffed. They don't have enough resources. And okay, there's always a few bad pennies that don't do their.
That's the one I was more getting at. I'm sorry, I wasn't trying to.
Generally, they are. I mean, I've had stories. I couldn't repeat them here. Of things that have gone on, and staff member asked to work after a 12-hour shift. Ask, can you work nights as well because your replacement hasn't turned up?
Yeah.
Imagine working 24 hours straight. It's anyway.
No. I'm not saying that. I was only saying a few, Philip. So that.
I know that. No, I just wanted to, just the way it came out. I just wanted to, clarify it.
Yeah. I don't want to pick a fight with you, Philip. I don't do chuck pillows.
Just lucky Mary's not here, but you've been picking with her because she's very defensive of the staff of the NHS.
Yeah, I don't want you start banging your bell, Philip, and say you're making a whole show of yourself. We will get on to that.
I wouldn't do that.
That was funny this week. It was. I did find it funny in a way because if somebody put a comment in, and this was the comment, something about our Kim Caller, Brown and Murphy swinging a mallet in the door.
Yeah, Verona Murphy is the for one of the speaker. She's the speaker of the Parliament in Ireland. You know, the call of the Can Corla. Yeah. And she's totally out of her depth in it, I'm afraid. But anyway.
Now, if you could explain, Philip, in simple terms, right? And I apologize again. I wasn't trying to say that, but it's just
don't worry about it.
A minority just don't do their job. It's just what I've seen. In my time at that hospital, I've got no love for that hospital anyway.
I heard you're bad from it.
No, I'm allowed in. I remember one time, this is a funny story. Deborah was in there. Deborah was in there with a heart, and she was hungry. So I had an Aldi bag, right? It was the night Tottenham reached the Champions League final.
Oh God, I remember. Yeah, go on. Yeah.
So anyway, she wanted the McDonald's. So I went, fine, I'll go down and get one. I got one for myself. I hadn't eaten, so I put it all into the Aldi bag. Poured it into the Aldi bag, right? Poured it into her room. She had mine, she had hers, and then she ended up being mine as well. So I went out to this fella to get a drink, right, for us. And he was a Liverpool fan. And he was watching the football, and I said to him, "What's the score, mate?" He said, "You lot are effing winning." You've gone through. I couldn't believe it. I was thinking, my God, we've got to. Oh, good times. The Doyle.
Yeah.
If you explain it in 3 words, Philip, if you can.
What the Can Corla is, or what's happening?
What's happening? Explain to people about the speaking rights. Right now, in the UK, everyone in the UK Parliament, everyone gets to ask Keir Starmer a question every week, and Prime Minister question times. But in Ireland, it's different, isn't it? It's opposition to ask. So what is the speaking rights row about?
The position is this: when we had a general election, of course, nobody got an overall majority, right?
Yeah.
So Fianna Fáil were the largest party, so they gathered up the support of, I think, 10 independents, right? Now they only needed 3, I think, of 4 to have a majority, but they wanted to make sure that there was, a comfortable majority. Then this thing about speaking rights came out, which speaking rights are the opposition parties are supposed to be allowed so much time each week to question the Prime Minister or the Taoiseach, right? Yeah. Now, one of the groups that came in to support Fianna Fáil would get speaking rights as part of the government, right? But they also wanted to have speaking rights as an opposition. Now, this might sound, it's basically they wanted to speak out of both sides of their mouth at the one time. They wanted to be able to speak for the government and against the government.
Yeah.
And there's a total of 8 minutes involved here. And the election was on the 29th of November, and it's still rambling on. There was nearly a full-scale fist fight in the Parliament this week over it. And there was guys going around taking photographs. One of the protagonists in the whole thing was putting 2 fingers to everybody. It was like an episode of Monty Python meets, I don't know what, 40 Towers.
Yeah. Now, let's put it this way. You're not a big fan of Sinn Féin. Now, look, the opposition weren't good. Let's put it that way. But the Labour leader, I think, was the only one that spoke any sense.
Yeah.
I rarely do. Mary Lou and Piers Doherty all shouting and roaring. Mary Lou's as the leader of Sinn Féin, and she asked her question. And I sometimes feel that the women in the Doyle on the opposition don't get the respect they deserve, by the way, from Micheál Martin. I find them a little bit patronising when it comes to them. But if Micheál Martin did his research, he would find that Fine Gael, Fianna Fáil, all came from Sinn Féin, all split originally from Sinn Féin.
That's right. Back in 1916 and further on. Yeah, absolutely.
But I think split from Sinn Féin one way or the other. That's
110 years ago. It's been long forgotten now. My only gripe with Sinn Féin, and don't take this personally. This is just I'm apolitical. I don't follow any political party. In fact, I'm skeptical of them all. But I think Sinn Féin's problem over the years is they're always the first to object to everything if they don't like it. But do they have a policy to back up their objections? They don't always do that. I think if you're going to complain about something, you've got to have an alternative, and that isn't always the way. I have to say, though, the Sinn Féin speakers, the likes of Pierce Doherty and I can't remember, Aideen, what's called the guy with the Irish name with the funny glasses, they are brilliant.
Oh, hang on. What's the Mrs. Chong would know. What's the Sinn Féin fellow, the house in Sinn Féin with the funny glasses?
Owen O'Brien.
Owen O'Brien.
O'Brien, yeah.
Owen O'Brien, yeah.
Like, I have to say, of all the parties, like you'll find Fianna Fáil will have the Independents will have the likes of the what you call it, brothers, the hats,
the Healy race. They're in government
now, right? Which is like watching an episode of Father Ted. But you'll have the Sinn Féin boys are so well spoken, so well informed.
Yeah.
Right. It's just a pity they don't put it to more good use, in my opinion. But that's just me. But the thing about it is, Sinn Féin had a great chance 2 years ago of being the dominant power in this Dáil, and whatever happened, they didn't take it.
Well, look, at the last election, Philip, they were the largest party.
Yeah, they could have moved. They could have acted
like
on
it or not.
Yeah.
And Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael said, right, you're not getting in. It's our ball, and we're not giving it to you.
Yeah. Well, it all goes back to the fact that maybe back in the 90s and 80s, Sinn Féin's policies were maybe pro-IRA. I know that's gone now, but that old prejudices die hard, and that's why you'll never ever get Fianna Fáil and Sinn Féin in bed together.
No, I mean, there is the vote for the president this week. I know the guys are talking about a good Sean Shamu from Highway to Hell. He knows that's my favorite song. He does make a good point here, Philip. They were talking about WWE, by the way. Thank you so much, Tequila. Yeah, it happened about 4 years ago. She's fine now, but yeah, that was a scary. I didn't know nothing about it. Didn't even tell me. Tadurva told me. The doctors didn't even tell me what happened. Let's just say I wasn't happy. Where's Shamu? Where was that comment Shamu put in? Oh, this one. He says, I can't imagine living in America and paying for medical bills and that guns are everywhere. In America, you can buy guns, smoke, I think, and drive a car at 16. But you can't vote or drink till you're 21. That's bizarre to me.
There's actually some states in America where you can buy an AK-47 at 18 years of age, but you can't drink a pint of beer until you're 25. Which is a bit ridiculous now, you know.
That is. Look, where the tariffs coming in now, it's going to affect the UK, it's going to affect the whole of Europe. Again, we've got Pascal Donoghue, who I have to say, hand up, he's been a very good Minister of Finance.
Yeah,
he really has. I have to give him his due. He's probably been the best Minister for Finance we've had for a long while. These tariffs are coming next Tuesday, Philip. If you're not in Dublin, then we might have to do an emergency.
I'm here. I'm not going to Dublin.
Yeah, we'll have to do an emergency stream next Tuesday because that's going to be how bad is that going to hurt? Because we've got Simon Harris coming out as well, saying, like for Ireland, that Ireland is highly likely to face economic turbulence.
Yeah.
Is our economy strong enough to resist this? And is the UK economy not strong enough to resist it?
I think we're strong enough to resist it for a while. I'm not wholly convinced there won't be some sort of a trade deal arranged between the UK and America. There has been rumblings that it's been worked on, and they might be largely immune from the tariffs. If that's the case, fair enough. I think it's the pharmaceutical thing that's causing us the problem. We export some multi-billions of euros worth of pharmaceuticals to America, and look, I mean, Trump wants the factories to go back to America. That's fine, but you don't start up a pharmaceutical factory overnight. It takes years to build them and get them ready. Yeah. So this is going to be a fair bit of pain for a lot of people, because what this is going to do, if you're paying 50 quid for your prescription every month, right? Once that hits the streets in America, that's going to be $65. So in effect, you know, he might be trying to shore up the American economy, but he's actually ruining it with all these tariffs, because the prices are inflation in America is going to go through the roof over the next couple of months.
So if you were, say, the Chancellor, which is like the Minister of Finance in the UK, right? We'll start down. We'll start with EU first, with the Minister of Finance in the EU. Then we'll go to UK and Ireland. If you were the EU, which Ireland are part of, what would your response be next Tuesday?
Well, if Trump puts on the tariffs, right, what you have to do is you have to try and move your markets elsewhere. You have to move. Okay, I'll leave the pharmaceuticals to one side. They're probably not as easy to move. But you see the likes of Jameson whiskey and Dumshambo gin and people like that. They've got markets east. Go to Japan. Go to China, where there's probably free trade, and get your product sold out there, and try and reduce your dependency on America significantly.
Yeah,
there's plenty of other markets said that they won't own tariffs and stuff coming in. Like Donald Trump, to me, is doing Putin's bidding here. He's trying to ruin the European economy. He will ruin half the economies in Europe over doing this. For what reason, I do not know. I just cannot figure it out why he's doing it and why he's been let do it. Because up to recently, it was Congress to control the issue of tariffs. But for some goddamn reason, they gave permission for the president to do it. And they couldn't have given it to the worst man. You know, this thing about he's put 25% on all cars coming into America. That's fine, right? But what he's also doing is from the 1st of May or sometime in May, there's 25% tariff going on components, right? Car components going into America. Now, it doesn't take an idiot. It doesn't take a genius to work out 75% of the stuff that goes into an American car made in America comes from abroad. So that's going to put up the price of American cars. But genius in the White House does not seem to realize that. And I think it's a case of the emperor's new clothes. He's surrounded himself with yes men who are scared to tell him the actual end result of his meddling in the tariff war.
Yeah. Big up the Boris. He says, things is, even if we don't get a trade deal with America, it seems Canada and Australia and New Zealand are wanting to begin closer ties known as the CAN-Z UK alliance. What is a trade, travel, and I think that's military.
That's what it needs to do. Move out to other countries. You know, America is not the only market that can go on. There's loads of markets probably untapped. Like Irish whiskey is so popular everywhere. You know,
it is. It is. Look, we're going to finish off the stream soon, Philip. What are you looking at for next Tuesday's a big day. We will be live on Tuesday evening with an emergency stream over this tariff thing.
Yeah, I don't know what time it's coming, but I'm not hopeful. I mean, Donald Trump is so unpredictable at the moment. It's hard to know what way this is going to go, you know. Personally, what I think the Irish people should do was we should completely boycott this hotel down in Clare. Why give that man any money? He claims to love the Irish and he's going to do this to us. You know, it's just hypocritical.
Apparently, Shmoo says America wants our cows and sheep. There you go.
New Zealand, yeah. Well, they'll probably charge you to bring them in.
Yeah,
probably put tariffs on them.
What do you think is going to happen in the Dáil next week? Will we get a resolution to this?
Well, I mean, I think hopefully the threat of the tariff might just shake the boys into realizing there's more important things than scoring political points over an 8-minute speaking slot. You know, it's ridiculous. It's dragged on this long. It has to finish soon. And if it doesn't finish soon, then I think a lot of those elected representatives really, really need a good kick in the arse.
So Tuesday, we've got the tariffs coming in. Tuesday, there's a vote with no confidence within the Cam Caller as well, Philip, which we know the government are going to win because they've got the numbers.
She won't go. She won't resign. She should resign, but she won't.
What's the few things you're looking at for next week, apart from the tariffs and the Cam Caller? What else are you looking out for next week?
What else is coming back? I'm trying to think. They're the major issues now, really.
There's one person we haven't talked about, Philip. Boris brought in is your mate, McGregor.
Oh, well, I mean,
do you want to finish off on McGregor?
Yeah,
and then we get on what we're talking about. So I forgot about that. I saw that today, actually, in the paper, one of the papers online. What a gobshite.
He's come along and said, this shows you how little McGregor knows about being the president. Like, being the president of Ireland is a totally honorary position. What you do is you receive people in Áras an Uachtaráin, you go to the Aviva to shake hands with the rugby team, and that's about it. right? He said, when I'm president, I'm going to introduce a referendum on immigration. Yeah, right. So you are. He's conveniently forgotten it's the government that brings in referendums, not the president. It's not like Trump in America, you know. Conor McGregor won't even get on the ballot paper because the qualifications are you must be nominated by 20 county councils and four elected representatives. Maybe it's and 4 elected representatives.
Do you think the Hutch might get on?
Probably got a better chance. He'd be a better candidate, and that shows you how bad McGregor is. You know, Conor McGregor is a disgrace. The White House took him in there and threw sugar at him without really realizing. Like for the press secretary to say, "I can't think of a better man to have in the White House on St. Patrick's Day," is an alleged. I won't say what, but so the association has been helping the girl Conor McGregor was accused of. You know, sent a letter to the White House explaining, "Do you realize what you had there?"
Yeah, I mean,
Boris might be taken down.
Now, Boris said he's hoping that a laughing stock of the island in McGregor will become the leader of Ireland, so we can have. Well, firstly, he wouldn't even get 2 foot within the Dáil. Secondly, he's not going to be president, and president in Ireland, as Philip said, isn't meaning what it means to be president in America. It's just to meet and greet people. Who I have to say, our president is an absolute. That man needs to be. He really is a great Michael D. Higgins. He really is.
I have to laugh, you know, when he goes to the Aviva on the event of a rugby match. You know the size of some of the rugby players. Yeah. He's walking down the line, and the camera has to go up a bit to make sure he's not completely cut out of it.
Oh, yeah. He was a man, wasn't he? He was Labour for years.
Yeah, he was. Yeah. Big soccer fan as well. Big fan of Galway United.
Who do you think will be president next? Because it's up this year, Philip. Who do you think is going to be?
I'm going to nail my fit. I want to see Heather Humphreys go for it. I think she's brilliant. She got more things done in rural areas in the last 3 or 4 years in the social welfare thing went there or whatever department she was in. She's great. She really is, and she's great crack as well.
I tell you, I'm going to throw a name in the hat. Michelle O'Neill.
No. She's the leader of the Sinn Féin up north. That wouldn't work. She's not a citizen of the Republic. You know, maybe that might not preclude her from getting it because Mary Robinson Mary McAleese was born in the north. But no, I don't think so. I think it's going to be someone who's either nearly retired or an arts figure. You know,
not Bertie Ahern, please. Not Bertie. Please, no. Not Bertie Ahern, please, no.
I don't think so.
We'll do a stream on Bertie Ahern. I mean, him and Charlie. We next week, we're doing it, Philip. Next week, we're doing a stream on Goobu. We're doing it next. We're doing it next week. We're doing the stream on Goobu. Remind people what Goobu was again. Grotesque,
unbelievable, bizarre, and unprecedented. Now, unbelievable, unprecedented might be the wrong way around, but you know what I mean.
So,
and that has to do with a guy breaking into the president's bedroom in Áras an Uachtaráin in about 1982. You could write a book about it.
Right. This fella, very quickly before we finish, this fella, right, murdered somebody.
Yeah.
Didn't he? He murdered a nurse or somebody, didn't he?
Yeah,
Yeah. Broke into the Attorney General's house.
Yeah.
Stayed there for, I don't know, a week. The Taoiseach, who was Charlie Hunt at the time, let the Attorney General fly off to America. Then they found out this fella hiding in his house. And then they recalled the Attorney General coming back. And then this is not all of it. I mean, it starts off with him doing this. I mean, this speech is the most famous speech in Irish. One of the most famous television bits in Irish history.
I wonder, can we dig it out, Dermot? Can we dig it out? I'm sure it's around somewhere.
I will dig it out. I'll find it. There he is. Anyway. Was it 1979 or 1980?
1982, I think it was.
1982. There he is. Ladies and gentlemen. He didn't say ladies and gentlemen. He goes on about not painting a pretty picture and we all must tighten our belts. And then he's ordering champagne, shirts from France.
Charvet shirts, yeah.
I mean, I mean, what else happened at that time, Philip? You had Desmond leaving the party, starting
we'll not
the
spoil
PDs.
it. We'll not spoil it. We'll discuss it next week. Yeah,
I tell you, I will find that. We will play it. We've got. I think. How long does that go? 30, 40 years now.
Dermot, I have a visitor here. I think I have to go.
Well, listen, we are going to talk about that next week. Philip's off to see. That's the president of Ireland coming up to see him, or Bertie Ahern tried to get him to run for the job. Right. One or the other. On that bombshell.
I'll see you next week.
Yeah, I'll see you go, Philip, and I'll clean off the intro. I'll do the intro. All right, there goes Mr. Brady. Yeah, we are back next week, guys. We'll probably be on Tuesday evening with an emergency stream with the tariffs and everything. And then Friday we're back on with Gubu. Yeah, if you want laughs and it you scratch your head at what Irish politics was like back then. But do tune into that. And I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you've really enjoyed this. It's a new channel. We're trying to grow it. We're trying to talk about serious stuff as well as having a bit of fun with it as well, taking the piss out of politicians, but also talk about the serious issues of the day. So do join us. Hit the like button. Hit the subscription button. I haven't got an intro and an outro, so I'm going to play our own Tottenham channel outro. Whatever you do, come on. Well, hit the like button and the subscribe button. We're back next week. Take care. Bye-bye. Far and wide, with the pride of the fight, on this journey we'll arrive, with our passion burning.